Some things are just what they are. A cartoon is a cartoon, a joke's just a joke. But every once in a while, you stumble upon something that feels different. Something where all the chaos seems a little too planned, and the nonsense feels like it's hiding some kind of deep, maybe even unsettling logic. And today, we are diving headfirst into one of those things. Yeah, we're talking about the SpongeBob episode, SpongeBob and Random Land. Now, on the surface, it's just another wild adventure for SpongeBob and Squidward, but if you look just a little bit closer, it throws a mystery at you that, honestly, nobody could really solve for years. It's not just random, it feels like some kind of test, and the answer might just change how you see the entire show.
All right, so to crack this thing open, we gotta start with the scene of the crime itself, Random Land. This is not just some weird neighborhood in Bikini Bottom. The clues all point to it being something else entirely, a place that plays by a whole different set of rules, completely beyond our logic.
The show itself actually hands us our first huge clue. Random Land is officially called a chaotic rule-breaking dimension where logic dies. I mean, Mr. Krabs is specifically warned that delivery fish have gone in there and just never came back. Think about that for a second. It's set up like a horror movie plot. A pocket universe that literally swallows people whole, and everyone in Bikini Bottom just kind of accepts it.
And the so-called rules of Random Land? Well, they're all about breaking rules. You can't get there with a map, you get there by acting random. The folks who live there aren't really people. The show describes them as being like corrupt files or leftover thoughts. So this isn't some physical place with streets and buildings. No, it's a psychic one, and it actively reacts to your behavior and your mindset. And the perfect proof of how this dimension works is just looking at how SpongeBob and Squidward handle it. SpongeBob just leans right into the crazy, he gets it, and because he's just being completely and totally himself, he basically glides through it unharmed. But Squidward tries to fight it, he tries to use logic to suppress it all. And because of that, he gets explicitly targeted. The dimension doesn't just annoy him, it puts him through this terrifying personal test.
And that test, that's where the episode really turns a corner. All the general weirdness suddenly gets laser-focused into this psychological gauntlet built just for Squidward.
It all happens in a flash. They're chasing a Krabby Patty bag, the world around them just twists, and bam, dozens of doors just materialize out of thin air. And trust me, this is not just a silly cartoon gag. This is the start of maybe the most revealing and unsettling scene in the entire episode. Every single door Squidward rips open shows him another version of himself, and each one is more messed up than the last. He sees himself as a creepy claymation puppet, a monster with literal static for eyes, even a version of himself as a female real estate agent. It's like they're all locked away like a memory locker, forcing Squidward to face all these pieces of himself he never, ever wanted to see.
But behind one of those doors, that's where we find the key, the one clue that unlocks this whole mystery. What he sees is a direct, unmistakable nod to Red Mist, a super dark, fan-made lost episode story that was so infamous, Nickelodeon had completely ignored that it even existed for years. Until right here, in this moment. So you gotta ask yourself, why? Why on earth would they do that now?
And that is the moment all the clues just click into place. The bizarre rules, Squidward's psychological torture, and that impossible reference to forbidden fan lore, it all points to one single grand theory about what Random Land actually is. So, here it is, the grand theory. Random Land isn't just a nightmare dimension, it is a literal garbage dump for the show's own broken lore. Think about it. Every alternate version of a character, every failed timeline, every weird idea that got thrown out of the writer's room, it all gets tossed into this dimension. It's like the show's subconscious has become a real place. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but how could a place like this even exist? Well, just think back to that classic Imagination Box episode, right? SpongeBob could create entire worlds with nothing but his mind. Random Land is basically that exact same idea, but turned inside out. It's this massive mental construct fueled by pure imaginative energy, and it feeds off the subconscious of anyone unlucky enough to fall into it.
And the proof is everywhere once you start looking for it. Those lost delivery boys who all merge into one being, the worm with two faces, and this is a big one, Roger, the customer who looks exactly like a young Mr. Krabs from the movie. These aren't just random citizens. They're ghosts. They're echoes of characters we already know, trapped in a feedback loop, just reliving the same unfulfilled needs over and over and over again.
Which brings us right back to the final, most chilling piece of proof. The one piece of evidence that locks this whole theory in place and turns this episode from just a weird cartoon into something much, much darker. The red mist. So for anyone who doesn't know, Red Mist is a legendary internet story, a creepypasta. It's a fan-written script for a so-called lost episode, where Squidward's constant failures as an artist just push him over the edge into a deep depression that ends with him taking his own life. I mean, it is pure, dark, rejected lore, the kind of thing a show like SpongeBob would never, ever, ever touch.
And this explains exactly why the Red Mist version of Squidward is the perfect resident for Random Land. In that story, he's a failed character arc. He didn't find a way to overcome his pain. He didn't grow, he just broke. And in a dimension that is basically a collection bin for broken and discarded ideas, that version of him belongs there. He's the ultimate corrupted save file.
So here's the bottom line. Putting Red Mist Squidward in that door wasn't just some spooky little Easter egg for fans on the internet. It was deliberate. It was a message. It was a warning that in this strange multiverse of stories, the wrong version of you, the one that gave up, the one that broke, might still be out there, just hiding behind a door, waiting.
So after all the mind-bending chaos, the episode leaves us with this one final question that really sticks with you. And it's not really about SpongeBob or Squidward anymore. It's about us. It's about identity. It kind of forces you to ask, what happens to the parts of ourselves that get lost? What happens when the versions of us that failed get stuck somewhere and never ever find a way out?